Most people that are preparing their body for pregnancy tend to focus on a lot of the obvious things. Things like taking the best prenatal on the market, tracking their ovulation, timing intercourse correctly, maybe cutting back on things like alcohol or caffeine, eating a bit cleaner. And while all of those things certainly have their place, fertility is really influenced by so much more than that. And after I've worked with hundreds of couples, and especially several women that have gone through their own health struggles and struggles with fertility, along with really going through my own health journey, what I have learned is that pregnancy is really not about finding that magic supplement or really following that perfect diet. And what it's more about is actually creating an environment where your body can function the way it was designed to. So today in this video, I want to share and dive into 7 surprising things that could actually be affecting your fertility. And these are things that I think deserve a lot more attention than they really get. So my hope is that by the end of this video, you will have a much broader perspective on all of the different factors that can influence your fertility, because the more that we begin to understand how the body works, I think the better we are equipped to actually support the body. So let's jump right in. The first one that we are going to tackle is blood sugar. And I think this surprises a lot of people because so many times people think, well, if I don't have diabetes or I don't eat sugar all the time, like, why does this matter for me? Or they may think that they just have no issue with blood sugar. And the reality is that every time we eat, our blood sugar typically rises. Our pancreas is going to release insulin to basically help move the sugar into our cells where it then can be turned into energy. But when blood sugar is constantly spiking throughout the day, that means that our insulin levels then have to stay elevated. So over time, this constant elevation of insulin can really start to influence our overall hormone production. It can impact inflammation levels. And what I also see is that for a lot of women, it can impact your ovulation, especially in those women who are dealing with PCOS, where insulin resistance tends to typically be a common factor. So improving insulin sensitivity is usually one of the very first places I like to start when helping women to eventually get pregnant, because it will help with regulating ovulation. It'll help with overall hormone balance. And the good news is, by doing this, or in order to do this, it does not mean you have to completely go carb free and eliminate every little bit of sugar in your diet. But one easy tip that I think is really the best place to start is by prioritizing protein first. So if you revolve every meal around solid protein and really a clean protein source, like a grass-fed steak, grass-fed beef, something like that, and then pair your carbs with the protein, that is one easy way to actually start to reduce blood sugar dysregulation. So here's an example. Like if you are somebody who loves to snack on fruit, or maybe you eat an apple all the time, instead of just eating an apple alone, which fruit is a carb, so that will break down in the body as sugar, spike the blood sugar, leading to an insulin release. And if we have tons of those releases throughout the day, that's what can really start to lead to that blood sugar dysregulation, which can impact our hormones and ovulation. So rather than just eating that apple plain, what I would suggest you do is actually pair that apple with something like almond butter, where you're dipping pieces in nut butter, and that's actually a really healthy fat and protein. So it's going to slow the release of glucose and then slow down the insulin spike that typically results after eating carbs. So that is one easy tip to start modifying your diet, and that can go a really long way. Because if you are somebody that wakes up every single day and you eat a carbohydrate heavy breakfast, just changing that alone can have a huge drastic impact on your overall blood sugar. It can help definitely with your energy levels and just how you feel on a daily basis, but can really impact your cycle overall and definitely help to improve your fertility. So the second thing we're going to talk through is sleep. And often I feel like sleep gets really overlooked. It's one of the most important things that your body does every single day, but I think it's not talked about enough, and it's not stressed as to be as important as it really is. So when we sleep, that allows for our body to actually regulate our hormones, really regulate our immune function. It allows our body to carry out a ton of different processes that are really essential for just overall health. And that includes our reproductive health. So what a lot of people don't realize is that your reproductive hormones do not work independently from your circadian rhythm. So your body basically has this internal clock, and that's what really regulates, or it's really largely regulated by light, that internal clock. So morning sunlight is what helps to tell our brain that it's time to wake up. And then darkness later on in the day is what tells your brain that it's time to produce a hormone called melatonin. And melatonin is that hormone that really helps us to stay asleep. And while a lot of people know melatonin as that sleepy supplement, a lot of times I think people take it to help them with sleep. What a lot of people don't realize is it is a super powerful antioxidant. So that actually can make a really big difference in helping your body to reduce oxidative stress and reduce really inflammation levels while you're sleeping. And that's why it is so important to be sleeping really like 8 to 10 hours, especially for women, and to get consistent sleep at night, because without sleep, we're not having optimal levels of melatonin, which means we're not having optimal levels of antioxidants in the bloodstream to help combat stress and to help combat any like cell damage that's going on. So a quick tip to help you actually optimize your sleep and to help really use sleep as a tool to even improve your fertility would be going for a walk, or just at least getting outside when the sun is going down at night, as well as getting outside and seeing the sunlight as it's rising. Both of those things can actually help to really rewire and kind of train your body to learn that circadian rhythm. So another one would be by changing out your light bulbs. So number one, I would say keep lights really dim at night around your home. But if you do need to use lights in the home as you're maybe winding down, getting ready for dinner, getting ready for bed, what you can do is actually change out your light bulbs and use circadian friendly light bulbs. So usually redder lights, like a red light bulb, is going to be a lot more favorable to helping that melatonin production start to increase. So if you switch out your light bulbs and opt for the circadian friendly light bulbs at night, that is a really easy way to help support optimal sleep, help support your circadian rhythm. I think you'll notice even that you're sleeping better, that your energy is better the next day, and then in turn, it can definitely help to improve fertility overall. So I'm going to link below the circadian friendly light bulbs that we use in our home. And we use these now every night to make sure that we are not overstimulating our brains and messing with our melatonin production. They've been a game changer for us. And especially with having a baby in the home, I think that's even more important, because babies don't really just learn their own circadian rhythm right away. They a lot of times have to be trained how to understand when it's nighttime versus daytime, and paying attention to the light that you are letting into your home and which light bulbs you're using, I think is one of the best ways to help babies adapt better to daytime versus nighttime, and to start to understand when it is, which time of day, and when to sleep versus when to be awake. So again, that's going to be linked below, so that you can check that out, and be sure to use sleep as a tool when thinking about optimizing your fertility and just your overall health and cycle. So the third area that I want to jump into is chronic stress and nervous system. I think this is probably one of the most misunderstood topics when it comes to fertility. And what I don't want is for you listening on the other end of this to just think that, oh, I'm too stressed to get pregnant, and it's just never going to happen. Well, that is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that your body definitely pays attention to the environment that it's living in. So if your brain constantly perceives stress, whether that is maybe poor sleep, chronic pain, maybe you're overtraining, a lot of times overexercising can actually lead to more of that stress state for your nervous system. Maybe it's emotional stress, maybe it's even blood sugar dysregulation, or just like ongoing inflammation in the body. If that's occurring, then your body's going to start to prioritize functions that are more important for immediate survival rather than reproduction. So think about it like this. If your body believes that it is constantly having to respond to stress, then it's naturally going to start to direct more energy and resources towards helping you adapt to those stressful demands. And reproduction is actually, it is not essential for surviving. So because it is not essential for survival, your body will start to prioritize other systems and neglect reproduction and kind of throw reproduction on the back burner. And that is why it is so, so important when preparing your body for pregnancy to take into account, how can I regulate and support my nervous system? Because if your nervous system is stuck in that survival mode, which is that fight or flight mode, sympathetic mode, it is going to make it more difficult. It's going to make it more difficult to actually get pregnant. And to really, if you do get pregnant, have an enjoyable, healthy pregnancy. So things like not overdoing it with exercise, things like prioritizing good quality sleep, spending time in prayer, meditation, deep breathing, putting your phone away, not scrolling on social media right before bed. And then a huge area to actually help, or a huge tool to actually help optimize your nervous system health, would be chiropractic care. So me being a chiropractor, we see that every single day, how much supporting the nervous system and alleviating stress and dysregulation from the nervous system helps to optimize overall health. But when it comes to fertility, I think it is one of the most important tools to focus on, because if you are getting adjusted consistently, you are regulating your nervous system on a consistent basis, and you are helping to prepare your body so much better to actually adapt and really perceive your own environment in a much better way, and in a way that your body does not just perceive everything as like a threat or some sort of stress. So nervous system regulation, I think, is key when supporting your body for a healthy pregnancy. So if you are on a fertility journey, I encourage you to look for a chiropractor in your area that can actually support you, not only in those months or possibly years leading up to a pregnancy, but even once you get pregnant, because then you can use chiropractic as a tool to not only support your own nervous system, but also to support the nervous system of your growing baby. And that can make a huge difference in the health of your pregnancy, really the health and the state of the nervous system of your future baby, and even for optimal labor and delivery. So there's so many benefits there. So that is my take on basically nervous system regulation and stress. And again, I think it is one of the most important topics to talk about when it comes to fertility, and one that I think a lot of people tend to miss out on. The fourth thing I want to talk about is gut health. And a lot of times people don't immediately connect your gut health with fertility, but your digestive system plays a much bigger role than simply just digesting food. The way you can think about it is everything that your body needs to make healthy hormones, support ovulation, grow a healthy baby, and then really maintain a healthy pregnancy has to be digested first. It has to be absorbed, right? All those nutrients. And then all those nutrients have to be delivered to your cells. So if you are not absorbing nutrients well, it does not matter how healthy your diet is, your body then won't be able to effectively use what it's not absorbing. And your gut is really home to about 70% of your immune system. And all those bacteria that live in your gut are going to influence everything from inflammation levels to hormone metabolism. It has such a dramatic role on even helping your body to regulate hormones by eliminating estrogen. Your gut is actually in charge of helping you to eliminate excess hormone. And if we don't have a healthy gut, or we're not going to the bathroom regularly, a lot of times excess hormone can start to build up in the system and can increase inflammation levels, increase other issues, and cause other health issues. So remember that your digestive system communicates with the rest of your entire body. So if it is inflamed, if your nutrient status is off, then it can start to influence things like your skin. It can influence your mental health. It can definitely influence your endocrine system, which is your hormones and your cycle, and absolutely impact fertility. So things that I always ask patients about when working on fertility with my patients would be, do you get bloated regularly? Are you constipated? Do you have any abdominal discomfort? All of those things can actually start to key us into other things going on in the body that need more attention. Something I like to explain to patients is that symptoms are your body's way of communicating. So if you've been dealing with any sort of chronic digestive symptoms, whether it's bloating, whether it is irregular bowel movements or excess gas or burping or reflux, any of those symptoms tell us a story about something deeper going on. So it is always worth diving into to understand why those symptoms are happening, especially if you're on a fertility journey, because it just may be linked. It absolutely can be linked to that pregnancy or to maybe why pregnancy is taking longer than you're expecting it to. So that pretty much sums up that topic of digestion. Your gut health really is one that is so important to look deeper into. And it's not just I eat clean or I eat probiotics, or take a probiotic, so I must have good gut health. It's not that simple. It's actually so much more complicated. And running a stool test, running food allergy testing, these are some of the ways you can actually get more insight into how your gut health really is operating, and if there's room for improvement for you to change things up so that then you can improve your overall health. All right, so diving into the fifth area is going to be environmental exposures. And this is obviously a topic I am very passionate about and talk a lot about, but I think it's also important to understand why this matters. And something I think is often misunderstood is that it's not just one product we're concerned about. It's more about the cumulative exposure. So if you have that one hair product that you just absolutely love and feel like you cannot change, like it is not worth stressing over that one product when you do everything else, as clean as you can. But when it comes to using products every single day and thinking about applying deodorant, brushing your teeth twice a day, washing your clothes, cleaning your countertops, like all the things that we do every single day, those are the things that all really add up. And if we're not using clean products for the majority of those things, then it can definitely have a detrimental impact on our fertility and just overall health. So one tip that I always suggest when working toward cleaning up your daily routine is to start making small swaps that can have the largest impact. So thinking, what products are you using on an everyday basis as opposed to that one product you use here or there. So to help you with this, I've actually done a lot of the research and really put together for you a low tox fertility swaps guide that includes all of the swaps I have made on my own health journey, swaps I still use today, and they are swaps that I recommend to any couple that is hoping to get pregnant one day. And whether you are struggling to get pregnant or not, or you are already pregnant, it is so important to make sure that your toxic burden is as low as it possibly can be to protect not only yourself, but to protect your growing baby or future baby. So that low tox fertility swaps guide, I'm going to have linked below so you can download that. It is a free guide and you can just then click through it and start to make those swaps, like switching out your water, switching out your makeup, your skincare, your deodorant, a lot of these things that we use on an everyday basis. All right, so moving on to number 6, we are going to talk about your partner's health. So when a lot of couples are trying to conceive, I think that so much of the conversation tends to naturally center around the women. And women are usually the ones that are tracking their cycle, tracking ovulation, taking the prenatal, maybe changing up their diet, researching all these supplements, taking different things, right? Making the lifestyle changes. But what's so important to remember is that pregnancy really begins with 2 healthy individuals. And so many people are always surprised to learn that male factors contribute to nearly half of the infertility cases, which means that male's impact, or really the lifestyle of your partner and the male, is going to impact the health of that pregnancy just as much as the female's health does. So we never want it to fall entirely on the female to be making these changes. The health of the sperm is really just as important as the health of the egg. And something that I always encourage couples to remember is that sperm are constantly being produced. So it actually takes roughly 70 to 90 days for new sperm to develop, which means that the choices that your partner is making today throughout their lifestyle can actually influence the quality of the sperm several months from now, which is pretty wild. So that's actually, it should feel encouraging to hear that, because that means that the things that we do to support healthier sperm production today can make a really big difference in your fertility journey only a couple months in the future. So I would always encourage men to really focus on the foundations first by prioritizing a whole food diet, making sure you're getting quality protein in, healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and then really focusing on regular exercise, avoiding overtraining, managing your stress levels, limiting alcohol, even caffeine. Maintaining healthy body composition is going to be important. And just as we talked about briefly before, making sure that you're reducing your overall toxic exposure. So things like pesticides, plastics, certain chemicals, even excessive heat exposure, these are all different things that can actually really decrease the quality of your sperm. So something as simple as a hot laptop sitting on your lap, that is actually not great for sperm quality. So that's one simple thing to change. Sitting in a hot tub every night would be another one. I would actually swap using hot tubs or saunas for men to using more of a cold plunge, because cold therapy is actually so much better for sperm health than the heat would be. So doing things also like going for evening walks together, that can reduce stress, that can help to just improve like exercise and physical activity, making simple swaps around the house. So remember that your fertility journey is not just about you. You have to get your partner involved, and they also have to be willing to really put in the work and willing to make lifestyle changes just like you. Because preparing for pregnancy should really be something that couples experience and do together. It should never be it should never be that all the responsibility falls on just women, because you are creating the healthiest possible environment for your future baby, which really starts with supporting both the health of mom and dad. So when couples come into our clinic and we're working on fertility being the goal, I almost always encourage that both partners are actually involved in care and both partners are actually running their labs and making changes. Because again, it's not just about optimizing one person's health. We really have to prepare for pregnancy by optimizing both partners' health. And that's where we see the greatest outcome overall. So now diving into our last one, number 7 is going to be focused on inflammation levels. And I like to think of inflammation as just one of the ways that your body is communicating that something deeper needs extra attention. And something to remember is that inflammation is not always bad. So it's actually a really essential part of healing. For example, if you cut your finger or you get sick, inflammation is part of your body's normal response to actually healing. But what does become problematic is when inflammation starts to become chronic and it's there for a very long period of time. That's when we have to start to understand, why is that taking place? Why are inflammation levels high? Is it due to poor sleep? Is it due to blood sugar imbalances? Is it due to chronic stress or environmental exposures, or maybe nutrient deficiencies or an underlying infection? All of these things do not exist independently. They all have the ability to really influence one another. And that's why I don't believe that fertility comes from one single supplement or one lab result or that one perfect lifestyle habit. So we always want to ask, how can I better support my body's ability to function well? So when you start looking at fertility through that lens, I think that your focus naturally is able to shift from trying to fix that one symptom to actually building a healthy environment and a healthy foundation overall. So if there is one thing that you take away from today's video, I hope that it is that fertility is influenced by so much more than just your reproductive organs. It is connected to things like your metabolism, your sleep, your nervous system, your gut, your environment, your partner's health, your overall inflammation levels, right? All of that is going to play a role in when you get pregnant, what that pregnancy looks like, and really the health of the baby. And what's exciting is that we have the power to make improvements in almost all of these areas. You have the power to change these things, to change your lifestyle habits. And one simple swap every day can totally change the course of your future health, your future fertility, right? So all it takes is making a conscious effort to make one change and then to really stay consistent with that one change and then to add another change. And if starting with something as simple as changing up the products that you're using on a daily basis so that we start to reduce your overall toxic burden and what you're exposed to, if that seems to be like the simplest place to start, which a lot of times it is for many people, I want you to download my free guide below. It's called Low Tox Fertility Swaps. And I did all the research for you and put together what I would actually start swapping, things like deodorant, things like making sure you have a water filter, things like having an air purifier in your home to reduce what you're exposed to and what you're breathing in on a daily basis. So that is linked below. There's tons of product swaps in there to make it easy for you to just start somewhere. Because remember, fertility is a journey. It is not an overnight. There's no one simple overnight fix. But by starting small and adding up all of these changes over time, it can really make the biggest difference. So I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.